Once upon a time, in a kingdom of Zugan, there lived a king named King Gangan and a poor orphan girl named Ziko. King Gangan was a very rich king and a proud one for that. He cared only for himself and that of his family. All the kingdom's resources were under him. He controlled everyone in the kingdom. In every harvest season, all the villagers would harvest their farm products and give half of it to the king. King Gangam had a wife with a son named Prince Tega. King Ganga was a good definition of bad king. He doesn't listen to his cabinet. Whatever he says, stand. Every one market day, King Ganga would walk into the market in his village to choose any goods of his choice without paying. The people of Zugan had no choice than to dance to his tune. While in the other hand, Ziko and poor orphan girl had no siblings or relative. Ziko was a hard-working girl who had been raised in a humble orphanage on the edge of the forest, where life was a struggle and hope was a fleeting dream. Ziko's days were spent working tirelessly to earn a living. Her nights filled with sounds of whisper from the dark woods beyond. In the village of Zugan, there was a big forest known in the village where everyone was afraid to enter. It was a place where King Ganga always sent his offenders. In the village of Zugan, everyone avoid any crime that would make king to send them into the forest. All the villagers live in the mercy of king. Ziko the orphan girl worked hard in order to feed on a daily basis. One fateful evening, the king of the land, named King Ganga, decreed that anyone who could not be able to bring his or her harvest to his palace would be sent into the evil forest as punishment. This decree was aimed at clearing the kingdom of those deemed unworthy. Ziko, the poor orphan girl, had nothing but her tiny and tattered clothes and the scraps of her existence. She was deemed fit for banishment. Nobody could be able to rescue her from king's order. Everyone was afraid to challenge the king. Some villagers felt pity for Ziko. It was a very hard time for Ziko. As she was led toward the forest, her heart sank as they reached the evil forest. The villagers, watching from a distance, whispered in hushed tones, some feeling pity, but some relief to see her go. It was as if they had already consigned her to her fate. As Ziko crossed the threshold into the forest, the darkness enveloped her, and she stumbled along the overgrown path. Her fear palpable. She was lost, wandering through the thick underbrush and twisted trees that seemed to move of their own accord. Her hope decreased with each passing moment, and her strength began to falter. Ziko, a poor orphan girl, had no relation or sibling to come to her rescue. She turned to be like a mad woman. She fed on insects and lizards. She made friends with the birds of the forest. She drank from dirty river inside the forest. She prayed every night for God to send her a destiny helper that will notice that someone like her exists in the forest. Ziko continued to suffer inside the evil forest. nobody to beckon on her. Sometimes she would be afraid of big lions and all the dangerous animals in the forest. Zico continued to pray to Almighty God to show her mercy by sending someone across her way. She tried all she could to know whether she would pass through the forest to other kingdom, but all to no avail. As Zico was praying and shedding tears to her maker, unknown to her, Prince Tega, the kingdom's noble heir, had ventured into the forest on a quest to prove his bravery. Prince Tega was not aware of what his father, the king, did to Zico. He came back from a trip and heard what his father did by villagers. He felt so bad and never supported his father. The prince had heard of Forest's dark reputation and sought to dispel the fears that had took over his people. His journey was filled with danger, but his heart was set on overcoming the trials ahead. As fate would have it, their paths crossed. Zico, exhausted and giving up hope, collapsed in a small clearing just as Prince Tega arrived. His eyes, kind and concerned, fell upon the weak girl lying in the grass. The prince had pang with compassion, and he quickly attended to her, providing her with water and comfort. "Who are you?" the prince asked gently as Zico stirred. "I am Zico," she replied weakly, "an orphan cast out from the kingdom by king called King Ganga." The prince's eyes opened with realization. "You are the one they sent into the forest?" Zico nodded, too weak to speak further. The prince, determined to ensure her safety, took her back to his camp. He tended to her. Strength gradually returned. During the time together, a deep bond formed between them. Prince Tega was strong by Zico's kindness and resilience despite her harsh circumstances. Zico, in turn, was captivated by Tega's nobility and gentle spirit. The prince soon realized that his feelings for Zico went beyond mere compassion. He had fallen deeply in love. Prince Tega and Zico returned to the kingdom. Prince Tega confronted his father, stating to him what he did to the poor orphan was evil. But King shouted at his son, informing him that he is the king of the kingdom, and whatever he says stand. However, Prince Tega presented Zico to his father, requesting his blessing to marry Zico. But the king's response was cold and harsh. He said, "You have a chosen girl from the forest, one who we have cast aside." The king said, "She is not of our world. Such a union would not be acceptable." Despite the king's refusal, Prince Tega remained resolute. He said, "Father, my love for Zico is true, and her heart is noble. I will not abandon her." The king's objections were unwavering. A union with her would be a blemish upon our royal house and our kingdom. Repetition. Zico, hearing the king's word, felt a pang of sorrow, but remained silent, knowing her place in the king's eyes was that of an outsider. Yet Prince Tega's love for her did not tremble, and he vowed to disobey his father's wish. The prince's resistance led to a conflict within the kingdom, where many sided with Tega, admiring his royalty and love. They reassembled behind him, demanding the king reconsider his stance. The kingdom was divided, and the king faced mounting pressure from his people. Eventually, the king, realizing the strength of his son's love and the support of the people relented. He granted his blessing and allowed the marriage to take place. Zico and Tega's wedding was a grand celebration that united not only their hearts but also their kingdom. Zico, who was once an orphan, cast into a darkness, became a beloved queen, her kindness and strength winning the hearts of all. The dark forest, once a place of fear, became a symbol of hope and transformation. The couple's love flourished, and their reign was marked by prosperity and compassion. They ruled with wisdom and grace, proving that love could overcome even the deepest shadows and bring light to the darkest of the place. And this is how Zico, the poor orphan girl, emerged as the queen of the kingdom. After King Ganga died, Prince Tega continued from where his father stopped. He was a very good king, but his wife Zico, the queen, turned to become a wicked queen due to what people of kingdom did to her. Guys, watch out for part 2 to see what Queen Zico did to people of Zonga. Guys, trust you find this story interesting. What manner of lesson do you learn from this story? Please subscribe to my channel at African Tales by Ifenkili. Like and share with family and friends, and turn on your notification buttons, and stay tuned for more interesting and mind-blowing stories coming your way next time. Remain blessed. Bye.